MandaloreGaming, everybody, welcome to Solo ReacTalk. This morning I'm going to be reacting to a video requested by Alpha Shocker. It's called Warfront Turning Point Review, made on the MandaloreGaming YouTube channel. If you guys want to check out my previous reactions to other MandaloreGaming gaming review videos, remember the playlist card is going to be at the top here. Just click on it and you'll be able to access them. If you want to check out the original video as well as MandaloreGaming's YouTube channel, the links are going to be in the description below. Okay, let's start. 3, 2, 1, go. You know, these remind me of the machine armored, power armor from The Matrix. The Matrix Revolutions, or was it Revelations? I can't remember. The third movie of The Matrix. They used these types of machines to defend the city of Zion from the Sentinels that were drilling to the civilian population areas of the city. And yeah, you know, the defenders were using these sort of machines. What did they call them again? APUs or something like that. Yeah, okay.
Armageddon. I love it.
Alternate history has always been an interesting and fun genre for me. Sometimes they're plausible, highly researched scenarios, and sometimes they're completely batshit. There's always been room for both across all media. Then you have time and space mischief, like Pax Romana. You know, where the Vatican sends back time-traveling mercenaries to form an eternal Roman Empire, at least until you see the story start to fall apart and then completely give up. Regardless, the lion's share of these mainly goes to World War II. It's a
the type of time-altering or history-altering entertainment that I've seen is mainly like from science fiction television shows like The Outer Limits or Star Trek, and which other one? Okay, I can't remember another one, but yeah, you know, TV shows like Star Trek where people would go back in time and try to make sure the Federation never comes into existence, or some other time-altering reason why they would want to change time. And you know, also like in The Outer Limits, also like Stargate SG-1 or Stargate Atlantis, with the Stargate itself, you know, taking people back into time, and they have to make sure that they don't try to alter the time, or maybe the time has been altered and then they have to go back in time to go and correct that mistake. Yeah, something like that. Also with The Outer Limits, where in some episodes in The Outer Limits they would show, you know, a different scenario on Earth. Maybe Earth was invaded by aliens, and you know what should have been happening, like in terms of wars or the unification of Earth or something like that, has drastically changed or altered because of external situations. And you know, time took a different path and humanity took a different turn. So yeah,
good high-stakes diverging point that you can play around with a lot. Hell, in games, arguably the establishing title for FPS had you fighting Mecha Hitler. They've been here since the beginning, and boy can they get weird. The thing is, you usually have some kind of expectation going in. You might have gotten to watch The Man in the High Castle expecting something like Fatherland, and instead it goes into Pax Romana territory, and no one even gets hit with a funny pink beam. As for Warfront Turning Point, this is an absolute enigma, and it has parallels to another video I've made. This is part of what I call my Best Buy collection, which is an electronics retailer chain over here which will likely die in the next 20 minutes. Anyways, growing up I had no gaming magazines, my family stuck with dial-up for far too long, so my game buying habit became word of mouth from my friends and what cover looks really cool in the store. The games...
That's kind of like what I also did when I used to hire games at Videotown. You know, I would just look at the covers of the game boxes to see if it's going to be interesting or not, or I'd read at the back, you know, the back information about the game. Or yes, my friends would advise me on particular games that they have hired or that they have bought and that they're playing. And yeah, word of mouth, or I just go directly to the video hiring establishment and just pick out a box that looks, eye-catching or eye-popping, something that catches my attention immediately. Yeah. And usually that's always like the science fiction genre type of games. Yeah.
It might be 10 or 20 bucks, but they'd have a really nice box. Ghostmaster was one of those and was a great pick. And you know what else had wonderful packaging? Genesis Rising. I guess I should have shown this in its own video, but I still have it.
The Universal Crusade.
Folds out into a nice faction overview, positive review snippets, all of this and for only $10. Warfront had a big Nazi mech on the front, and a large spread showing multiple bizarre sci-fi weapons. We were impressed, said PC Gamer, but was I? Well, just like Genesis Rising, I had no memory of actually finishing this game. There's barely any information about it online, and it's currently not sold anywhere. And that makes it perfect to talk about. So let's see where history diverges and look at the opening cutscene.
War never changes.
Which is a bunch of the game's cutscenes without context. Though it is good production value, especially for an RTS from then. But moving to the main menu, there are no answers there either. It is notable that this game is version 1.0. It never got a hotfix, a balance patch, nothing. That is extremely unusual for a strategy game, especially one from that time. Anyway, from here we can pick out a campaign, and there are only 2, but this game has 3 factions.
Wait, which time was this game opened to the public? I don't think I heard MandaloreGaming saying when this game was published, but yeah, that's also quite interesting that there's 3 factions, but you only play 2 of them. On the campaign there it says German and the Allied. It must be the Allied forces. So what's the 3rd faction that you cannot play? Interesting.
So for once the Soviet Union couldn't make them share. I went with the Allied campaign first, hoping to learn something about the setting, but the Germans have already taken London. So did Operation Sea Lion work, or... wait, That's a strange act... Oh, the Allies are here, but... Wait, wouldn't they... Are they retaking the city? The fighting rages on. And then, a scene straight out of a Bollywood action movie.
Where the hell's that Yankee?
Guys, what does Yankee mean? I think I need to look this up on the internet. Why is it that the Allied forces called the Americans the Yankees? Yeah. Oh, okay. Jetpack. Alright. I don't know, guys. This does look cool, having a jetpack, but you are exposed. You are exposed. Someone can shoot you down. When you're trying to focus on shooting down someone with your flying in the air with a jetpack, someone can take a shot at you or take a shot at your tanks and you will explode. So, oh yeah, and when you in a stationary position, in mid-air, you are also a target and someone can just shoot at you and you're dead. I don't know. Jetpacks, they look cool in movies, they look cool in games, but in reality, the practicality of it is just not there. Yeah. You see what I mean? That guy is now in a stationary position, like fish in a barrel.
So, the Allies are retaking London with the help of great value Bruce Campbell.
Got the boomstick, sir.
John Lynch. God bless America. Sadly, what the actual turning point is remains vague. Nothing in the menus or initial missions of either campaign, nothing in the manual. The only hint I have comes from the box saying that Hitler was assassinated, which is something, but who took over and who killed him?
Clearly that's not important in this game.
Well, that question is never answered among many others. If it weren't for the box, you would not know he was assassinated. It makes the beginning of both campaigns confusing and disjointed, and it does eventually establish enough that you'll understand the main crisis of the game. But how this all happened remains a mystery, which is baffling when you're doing an alternate history game. Like, it may have been stupid and insane, but even a game like Homefront knew to establish some things. But the story is just one part of the game, so let's talk about the visuals. For a 2007 RTS game, Warfront looks pretty good. It wasn't the most amazing that year, but the technical side has a lot going for it. The lighting, shadow, and reflection effects already come together nicely, but there are extra layers to that because the game's maps can cycle through the time of day, along with dynamically changing weather. When things get darker, vehicles can flip on their high beams, and buildings will activate searchlights. Anything else that emits light like gunfire is a lot more visible. These are cool graphical touches on their own, but there's a lot of gameplay intertwined with this. For example, night can reduce the range or line of sight of some units, and some factions can use this to their advantage. The Soviet Union can research flashlights for always available extra dark vision, whereas German infantry can fire up a flare, which isn't always ideal, especially if artillery is around.
I mean, aren't you supposed to be firing those flares towards your enemy and not right directly under you? Anyways, yeah, this game does seem impressive, especially for like a 2007 RTS type of game. Yeah.
Bad weather can slow down movement and knock out radar. You can't launch most aircraft during it, and the ones already out can be damaged by storms. So beyond adding extra visual variety to the maps, it adds depth to the game too.
So you're not just collecting an army or building up an army and just attacking your enemies. You have to take the environment into consideration. However, I don't see how do you collect resources? I don't see like a mine that you're supposed to be mining, or cutting wood or something like that. I'm thinking about other RTS types of games where you have to collect resources, and then from those resources you're able to create your army. But I don't see anything like that here just yet. Yeah, I just see the facilities where your units are created, like an air base there that we just saw there, in the factories where they're building the tanks. But I don't see any resource collection facility of some sort.
An opportunity could pop up where the enemy can't use their air power, or you could sneak some guys in under the radar. Or it could...
On the user interface, it does show how many units you can have, like the tanks, and then there's some sort of like a metal, some sort of metal icon. And yeah, it seems like you do collect some metals, but I'm not entirely sure where exactly do you collect them. And there's another one, not sure what it represents. It's got like a plus or minus icon on it. Not sure, but okay. Let's continue.
Throw a wrench in your plan, and a rescue operation gets a lot more complicated. It's a neat feature, and something that even a more tactical game like Company of Heroes didn't have back then.
I can't build on wet soil.
Along with all that, there are physics destruction effects, like vehicles absolutely exploding apart. Tanks can just roll down trees and small objects. The fights can scar and rip apart the landscape, but what matters to the gameplay this round is more arbitrary. Sometimes it's only janky-looking death effects that don't matter, and then sometimes a troop carrier crashes into one of your buildings and costs you some repair bucks. Or you end up in a firefight where you're trying not to get your troops pancaked by an oncoming train. So this time around, it's mainly for fun and flavor. See a power armor soldier die the second worst death next to the Animatrix. But once in a blue moon, it will matter for something random. Here's my heroic liberation of London.
Are you liberating or destroying?
And to this very day, they never fixed that road.
This is Mystery of the Druids. Yeah, I think this is Mystery of the Druids. Oh gosh.
As for the actual art direction, it's interesting. Warfront's environments and the entire color palette are more on the muted end. Dark, gritty, with flashes of beauty here and there, which is perfect for a World War II game. It's what they did with the factions themselves where things get weird. Germany is your tank faction. You have Panzers, King Tiger tanks. And mouse tanks, which to this day are the heaviest ever built, but they only built about 1.5. But in the world of Warfront, they became a mainline super heavy battle tank, and they face off against Soviet IS-3s, which were also real, but they didn't actually roll out until the war was over. A lot of Warfront's alternate history units did exist in some form, even if they never left the drawing board, or they existed with lots of problems, or not many were built. They reached into some obscure corners at points. So a good chunk of the roster is trying to be authentic. Here's things that might have shown up if the war kept going that were real. And then you have the all-American Gungan shield generator, the Soviet freeze tanks and ice bombs, the Nazi jetpacks and mechs. The Russians have some kind of 5-turreted super mutant T-35 with a rage ability, along with a necromancer vodka dealer who poisons all troops around him, but nothing can die as long as he lives. And you'll know
Necromancer vodka dealer. And no units die in his vicinity. Wow. Not bad. That actually sounds cool.
he's around because the Red Army can't stop burping. So it's partially we thought this through alternate history stuff, and then part pure silly. And they could have used real pure silly. Like, Hitler approved a 1,000-ton tank called the Rat. Others cancelled it for being too stupid, and the idea of it itself is so dumb. Some historians argue whether or not the idea was actually considered, or if
I mean, look at the size of that thing. The turret looks like it comes from a battleship. Crazy.
it was some kind of elaborate shitpost or intelligence bait. But if you threw it in Warfront, it would fit right in with the theme. They could have meshed more together, but it's also clear they didn't want to. The art style is only a part of it, but the entire game is half what if World War II were changed, and then weird science and campy one-liners and quips. So to address the mammoth in the room, it's trying to be Command and Conquer, specifically CNC generals. Warfront also has hero units, and some are one-to-one ability-wise. The difference is Generals nails its tone and everyone is a caricature. Warfront's tone goes all over the place. No matter what the subject matter is, a scene being camp or serious isn't based on context, it seems to be based on a dartboard. It gives the entire game a kind of madness undercurrent to it that's hard to express through the video. Oh, I almost forgot. You can control any base turret by going into a first-person mode. This did run horribly at the time, which isn't really a problem now, but it is still very...
Guys, where have you heard of an RTS game allowing you to have this option? Where you can just enter into like a first-person shooter mode and you're directly on the battlefield fighting against your enemies. I don't think I've actually heard or I've played of a game that has that option. You know, switching from RTS into like a first-person shooter. This is cool. And this game is from 2007. Wow.
janky and awkward. But it does mean you can shoot beyond the normal range of a base defense, and it maybe does bonus damage. It definitely shoots faster. This is just another thing Warfront does. You can also enable third-person vehicle cameras. Anyways, let's move on from that to the audio. The music is... there? If you've heard generic World War II orchestra music in a game before, you've basically heard the soundtrack.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of those military-themed TV shows that I also used to watch on TV, like when I was very young. Yeah, I'm just trying to remember which one exactly. I remember Stargate SG-1 had military-themed type of music like this. Like, at the very beginning of an episode, they would show the Cheyenne mountain range. They would show soldiers going in and out of the exit of that facility, and they would play music like this. And also, I think it was called West Point. Yeah, the TV show was called West Point or something like that. Yeah. They also played like military, you know, type of drums and trumpets and stuff like that. Yeah.
Now that's a good place. Affirmative. Don't get bossy, okay?
Okay, this type of music I cannot recognize.
Building completed. Building completed.
It's fine. It's perfectly fine and fitting background music. I didn't notice it often, but when I did, it didn't last for long. On the other hand, the voice acting is your premium Swiss RTS cheese.
Closing in! Ready.
Dziewuszka wants some trouble.
Grandpa is here.
Red, white, and
Research
blue.
complete.
The unit barks are good, but it's the briefings where things get bizarre.
Boys, if we lose, our sons will grow up drinking English beer. Are we gonna let that happen? No!
Okay.
Typical American. The last one to the party.
That's right, we always get to clean up your mess.
Clean up your mother!
There are bits of pops and crackling throughout the game's entire audio, which isn't horrible, but definitely noticeable. The good news is that the rest of the game's audio is competent and well designed. When you're building units in your base or researching good tech, you get that good UI clicky feedback that you're hoping for. And the actual sounds of battle are great as well. You'll get random unit chatter, punchy explosions, and sharp gunshots. You can tell the difference between Allied and German tanks just by their motor sounds. The more famously awful sounds of the war, like Katyusha rocket launchers and Stuka bombers, do sound authentic. Even the sci-fi weapons, which do get out there, never sound like a stock. They audibly fit into the world just as well as anything else. The mixing can be strange at points, like sometimes the vehicle's engine sounds louder than its weapon, but overall it's a solid battle soundscape.
They're shooting at us.
Warfront generally looks and sounds a lot better than many other RTS games at the time.
It seems like it's a tank battle royale type of RTS game. You know, I see a lot of tank battles everywhere. No other units on the battlefield, like those mechs. I don't see them here. I don't see a lot of them. I don't see the jet troopers. I don't see, normal infantry type of soldiers on the battlefield. I just see a lot of tanks.
But was the gameplay the secret star of the year? Well, not when it's 2007 and Supreme Commander has come out. But besides that, there's nothing too crazy about how Warfront plays. The weather and time of day effects are a nice shakeup, and the turret-based defense FPS is weird and kind of game-breaking, but really, it plays a lot like other strategy games, with the strange setting being the draw. A lot of work was put into making the factions look and play differently, so certain mechanics like building power plants won't show up for the Allies since all their buildings are self-powered. With all that in mind, I'll go through everyone.
So wait, the technology that you research, not everybody has the same sort of technology that they can research. They're all researching their own different types of technology. Okay, wow.
The Allies represent American and British forces, along with a single Frenchman named Sanier. They are completely focused on air power, and like Command & Conquer, aircraft are launched for a while until they have to go back and reload and re-equip. Though they can stay out a lot longer than that series, and there are some exceptions to the rule, like the VTOLs. They're Sky APCs controlled like normal units, ferrying troops around the battlefield, and have some guns of their own. They truly are a marvel of engineering and sci-fi wonder, because unlike the Osprey, they don't fall out of the sky every 22 minutes. The Allies can paradrop a few kinds of infantry, and have some bombing options once they have an airfield up. These are different than building actual aircraft because invoking a bombing run will simply spawn a plane somewhere near to the site on the map. Beyond traditional options, there's an earthquake bomb which keeps spreading out and damages buildings over time, a remote-controlled
A tactical nuke?
kamikaze B-17 filled with explosives. I can only guess dogfighting in the Pacific became jousting. Actually, hang on a second. The game doesn't mention Japan at all, to the point that it's unclear if Pearl Harbor even happened. We can add that on to the list of mysteries. Regardless, the atom bomb is still in play, and the Demon Corps is on tour through all of Europe. You could still viably make a tank and artillery murder ball,
Demon Corps?
but it'll be backed up by the best air support in the game. There's also the Ranger Infantry, which are scout snipers that are also an anti-everything unit. As in, they can quickly take down tanks with rifles. You still might not use them often because they're infantry. And one of the first things you'll notice actually playing Warfront is how freakishly fast the time to kill is, especially on infantry. You can lose an entire squad before the attacking vehicle's animation is done.
I can see why there's such a battle tank focus in the game. You know, all the other infantry units are not really effective. The battle tanks are the most effective, most long-lasting units, it seems. Yeah.
A shot from a tank can kill a few guys, an artillery salvo can wipe out more, and you would be right to say, well, at least that seems realistic, but this is a standard RTS. You can't have your troops dig in or take cover like you're playing Company of Heroes. Starting vehicles also don't cost much more than infantry, so they should be more cost effective, but even vehicles can melt in a second. You could look away for 5 seconds and lose as many tanks or more. Warfront has some of the fastest time to kill I've ever seen in an RTS. Looking at my footage even playing as allies, you may notice I'm using lots and lots of tank murder balls. It's not me trying to cheese the game, these are the units that don't die in half a second. In other RTS games, having a counter unit means they'll be a lot more effective and even deadly if you have a nice group of them. Some games have an easy rock paper scissors approach, but Warfront is actual rock paper scissors, as in, if you have the wrong thing, you lose. And everything still shits on infantry. The exception is the big, powerful, expensive hero units, which can last a little longer, but I've also seen them be one-shot. And then you'll see a hero mow down an entire tank division with a single Gatling gun. They might outrange the enemy, or have a survival ability or buff, and this lets them shell out the insane damage without dying like a mayfly. While some games have obvious hard counters, Warfronts aren't always so simple. This is a world where a sniper rifle and a flamethrower might as well be a rocket launcher when it comes to armor. This is not the kind of game where every unit has a useful role to fill. Most of your early and mid-game roster becomes completely outclassed by what comes later. And it's not because they can't contribute to a fight at all, it's just because they can't survive more than an actual second. So you end up aiming for maximum range artillery and air support, and using high-tier armor that can actually survive an engagement. Your hero units unlock abilities as they level up, including buff and debuff auras. They can increase the range, damage, or armor of surrounding units. And these auras work on each other, so you typically keep all of your heroes inside of the death stack. Again,
Yeah, it seems like the hero units are truly important to any form of victory that you would want on the battlefield. Improving your armored personnel, carriers or tanks is important, but also the heroes who have the area of effect in terms of their level up or upgrade in terms of the buffs that they use is also very important. Okay.
and they can be extremely powerful, but on their own, they're paper. On top of that, regular units can also get promotion bonuses, which includes lots of extra HP and armor and self-repairing. To sum it up, while this naturally happens in some other games, this one is really encouraging you to make a tank doom stack. It won't hit as hard in the beginning of the campaign compared to Skirmish because they're slowly rolling out the tech tree, but you will immediately feel the effects of biblical rock paper scissors. And don't get me wrong, building doom stacks is fun in any strategy game. It's just rare to play one that feels like it's actively pushing me towards it because anything lesser explodes like Aqua Teen Hunger Force. Again, this is version 1.0 and nothing came after. What's incredible is that this all seems to be working as intended. Playing through the tutorial, there was a line near the end that caught my attention. Every type of unit is especially effective against a certain kind of enemy unit, but equally weak against another. Therefore, there are no ultimate weapons in Warfront. What these units could be is a mystery, but they truly mean it. There are units a faction can only build one of, which sure feels like the super unit. The Germans have a giant, expensive, flying Zeppelin fortress. It can crumple near anything on the ground, but will die in seconds to a single enemy fighter or anti-aircraft unit.
Man, it seems like the Germans have all the cool technology. They have mechs, they have these advanced tanks, they have jet troopers, they have these airships. Yeah, it looks like they have all the cool technology.
The intent seems to be, no matter what, you can always make a comeback with the right troops. It feels like it was hyper-balanced, but not in a way like StarCraft. It's like the entire game's balance was based around the units themselves, and no thought was put into the time or resources needed to actually make them. Don't worry if the enemy spent a lot of time and money building the fuck you cannon, you can counter it with something 5% of its cost. I'm not even that great at RTS games, but the problem with the combat here is incredibly in your face. It makes me wonder if they added the FPS mode for turrets, because if the turret isn't matched up with the attacking unit, it does near nothing to them. The one thing I know infantry are great at surviving are shells from an anti-tank bunker. It could be the FPS mode was added as an oh shit button for that kind of scenario, to make you slightly more effective instead of useless. Getting back on track, the allies can have their armored columns escorted by very pretty aircraft. And you've got good harassment potential for anything not screened by AA. This is especially impressive because they don't have jet fighters like the Germans do. We might as well move on to them. The Germans are the more turtley faction of the game, and when it comes to Skirmish, these are Germans and not the Nazis. I'll go over why that is when we do get to the campaign, but despite everything pointing to this being a Wolfenstein situation, it's instead a new Germany that has ousted the Nazis. They just still have exoskeletons and sonic weapons and jetpacks and everything else a cartoon supervillain would have.
Sonic weapons. Huh.
They have the lion's share of experimental and science fiction units, which is to be expected. They have some of the strongest artillery and armor units in the game, and if buffed up by heroes, can strike from extreme range. They are slower to get rolling because their bases rely on building power plants to function. If you don't have adequate power, your buildings will sit useless until you do. They even have a dedicated XP building that will slowly promote all the units around it. Along with the regular tech upgrades, one will start your units with a free level. That means by sitting in the base a while, you can roll out armor that's promoted on top of already being strong. And didn't I just say this is Armor Blob the game? I think you can see where this is going. This is the armor faction in a game already heavily in favor of that. They may lack paradropping and bombing options that the Allies have, but they do have guided missiles to shoot down their aircraft, along with the Super V2 facilities that sit in the base.
Super V2 facility. Huh. Wow, man, really, the Germans have far more advanced, weaponry technology compared to the Allies, it seems. Yes, the Allies have got shielding technology and air support, but really, they don't have anything like what the Germans have got.
Getting hit by V1s is bad enough, and here, the upgraded Super V2s are almost a nuke, and it's not carried by a lumbering vulnerable plane. In straight-up tar pit brawls, this is the faction that wins. So you're either going to be outmaneuvering or outblobbing them to win, or focusing on mopping up their AA to let planes do the work. A wise rapper once said, "Check your exoskeleton, so I will." I mean, it is the hero unit on the box that draws you into playing it. In-game, they are very good. They're quick, they mulch infantry and light vehicles, and they can launch rockets that'll own zone larger tanks, and they are insanely cost-effective once you have them. The one thing I find strange is how stiff and awkward the model is for them. They're a lot more articulated in the cutscenes, which is fair, but on the field, the entire top half is like rigor mortis.
They really remind me of those machines from the Matrix, but yeah, they move very rigid, like, Yeah, they're nothing like those machines we saw in the Matrix. Those ones really moved with power and swagger, on them. But these ones, it's just... Nah.
This is power armor stuck in a permanent come at me bro posture, but not nearly as cool as that sounds. I guess we should be thankful because looking at old concept art, it could have been way funnier. Oh god, a mech. Where do I aim? It's not a big deal, just funny to imagine people buying this game for the big Nazi robot, and then when they encounter it in-game it's a puppeted forklift. Alright, last and kind of least, Soviet Union. Since they had no campaign, I didn't play these guys nearly as much as the other two, but they've still got some interesting aspects to them. Where the Allies and Germans need to build a fairly pricey builder unit, the Soviets have a much cheaper combat engineer. He is but a man, and the Red Army has the most types of infantry in the game. Try to contain your excitement. This is the designated Swarm faction. Their units are cheap and can come out quickly. Through technology, they can build vehicles even faster and have 2-for-1 infantry. To keep the army on the march, they have a few extra ways of earning income. Usually, there will be a mine near your base, and you build a supply depot. Trucks can be constructed from there to gather resources from the mine and drop it back off. A merry-go-round of wealth that'll continue until the mine runs dry, or another faction destroys it. From there, most maps will have passive income centers like oil wells or banks that can be captured by infantry. So once these mines run dry, you're more pushed to contest these points on the map.
Oil wells and banks. Huh. Okay, so those are the types of resources you collect for your campaigns. Alright.
Even if these are all destroyed or inaccessible, Allies and Germans have their tech buildings able to create some passive income in the endgame. This means infantry's main usefulness is capturing a building, since any infantry can do it, and they can capture any building. You'll notice in the early game that the AI tends to send a few guys into your base to try and capture buildings, just in case you have no defenses at all. And yes, if you capture the enemy's HQ, you get their whole tech tree. Perfect. Now, while Soviets still use mines, they don't need a depot because their HQ is the depot. It also means that building more for a resource site is another fully operational base. Then they have the Gulag, which will add passive income based on recently defeated enemies. Well, holy shit. They still have the pure passive income building with the black market, but it will near instantly pop out a group of units from the enemy factions through the Lend-Lease program, which here just means dumping a big stack of cash. They have little in the way of air power, or anti-air for that matter, but they can steamroll in the right circumstances. The thing is, while they have cool units like the freeze tank and giant moving turret, their true potential is in base breaking. For a price, every so often, they can immediately spawn partisan fighters on the map. They are only infantry, but they also have a burrowing APC. It's like the Nod flame tank from Tiberian's Sun, but you can't counter it by building concrete. Now, do you recall the vodka dealer who makes all infantry around him immortal? I think you can see how this plays out, but there's another step to it. They have the ability to call in a freeze bomb, which immobilizes all buildings and makes them extremely brittle.
That is actually kind of cool. But I want to know more about the vodka dealer. Yeah.
So, you surface a battle group of blind drunk, immortal Red Army soldiers who knock out the AA to make way for the Kislev ice magic bomb, and then you can target partisan fighters in the farthest ones. No one can construct a tight base layout to stop this. Warfront buildings kind of snap to an invisible grid, which you can turn off, but then you just can't build, so you turn the grid back on. Which means there's always room, and the vodka necromancers can strike at any time. This is when infantry are strong, when they can't die and live under your real first floor.
Crazy.
There's other strangeness too, like every faction can choose a strategy to buff up a certain kind of unit, but it's free to switch to it and you can switch it in 6 seconds. Every faction can also build bridge layers to cross rivers, that's pretty awesome actually. There are lots of great little touches and upgrades that each faction can get, which I won't go over in detail, but playing it, you do get the idea of how the factions should play, it's just the balance is scuffed to hell and back. All that said, it is still fun to play. I wouldn't dream of—
I still can't believe this game is from 2007. All of this that's in the game, in one game, and it's from 2007. Huh.
Trying to get sweaty playing it, and the spectacle isn't as great as some other games, but it has lively animations, and the lighting and weather effects give it visual appeal, and the chaotic destruction of the battles looks and sounds satisfying. There's a healthy amount of skirmish maps with a few game modes, and one that sounds incredible, but for human multiplayer only. Secret Orders gives each player hidden objectives, which the others can only guess at. When a player makes solid progress on their own, the objectives are revealed to everyone, and the game would go apeshit. It's a genuinely amazing idea. Warfront does have other little common RTS problems too, like pathfinding occasionally glitching out, but on the gameplay end, I think this is a few patches away from being something really good. Sure, really good is still a CNC Generals clone with a World War II skin, but that would still put it above many RTS titles. As is, it's a Doomstack game with some quirks. Speaking of those, it's time to go over the campaigns. I did have to redo some missions because it looks like the save system is broken on modern machines. But the story did keep me wondering where things were going, and kept raising more and more questions. Many will never be answered, so spoilers from here on out, let's start with the Allied campaign.
I'll say this for the Yanks. They design beautiful bloody flying machines.
Thanks. Designing it was easy. Testing it against real Nazis is a little tougher.
The Allies have returned after 3 years of occupation to liberate London, and the British resistance could not be happier.
Grunt here. Understood, sir. As you ordered, sir. You need recon?
The operation is commanded by General Wells, and all-American action man John Lynch just wants to obliterate Nazis. So when London is liberated, Lynch is unhappy that Wells won't let him chase down some remaining Nazi trucks. Instead, he's sent to defend a different Allied base, and this is what kicks off a few mysteries. For one, there's some kind of anime villain looming over the battlefield. Lynch is a super commando
Anime villain, okay.
and super genius engineer who may have invented the helicopters. He also makes Pepe Le Pew seem like some kind of monk.
The helicopters or the VTOL helicopters? Yeah, I think the VTOL ones. Okay.
Farmhouse up the road. Our intelligence says the farmer has 3 beautiful daughters. My mission is to confirm that.
Ew. What if they're children, man? No, man, don't say that.
Is a colonel, but it's still not clear exactly what his deal is. The cutscenes can sometimes randomly get a marking that looks like your screen is damaged. I'm guessing it's where your cursor was before it played, but I have no idea what causes it. In the plot, while Lynch is beating down the Nazis, he gets word that one of their commanders is nearby. They're in one of the burrowing APCs, and they're not German at all.
Or is that the anime villain?
Drop your weapon, honey.
I like how her hair is flowing like she's underwater. Oh my god.
So handsome.
That accent, you're not German, you're Russian.
And so smart.
Yeah.
Is she wearing goggles? Or like, are there sunglasses? Interesting.
He could read the UI.
Your next step will be your last. I'll give you something to laugh about, honey.
Was she? We are rapidly approaching Metal Gear territory.
I like her. I like her. She didn't waste time. She took him down fast. And then even when he got up, she still had a dot. I think it's like a tranquilizer dot. And she, shot at him or threw it at him. And now he's collapsing. I like her. She's straight to the point. Unlike this guy who just keeps talking. What's his name again? John Lynch. Yeah, I don't like you.
But like I said before, this is an impressive amount of cutscene work for a strategy game. We already know the units get pulpy, so this kind of tone could be perfect for the story.
Oh man, and she was just about to kill you. Oh, too bad, too bad. John gets to live another day.
Medic! Say the medic for the wounded, I'm fine.
The Germans got away, sir.
Germans my ass.
Why did they cut the shot mid-line? Okay, so the actual direction and editing can be awkward and weird, but the dialogue is coming across kind of like an alien wrote it.
Nadia.
Who?
Nadia Amanova.
I don't know. The cinematics are a bit shaky looking, and everything behind the characters also looks a bit blurry. Yeah, I don't think I like that, but it's okay. It's okay.
Russia's most dangerous spy. You're bloody lucky, Lynch. Most men who meet her don't live to tell about it.
I knew she was Russian.
She's a puppet for the Nazis now.
I knew she was Russian. This is our Jimmy Neutron. Wells then says to forget all that because he needs to rescue General Hart, a German. He's a resistance member who got sniffed out by the Nazis and was part of the truck convoy that Wells didn't let him attack. Wells got all this information from a double agent who Lynch will be partnered with.
No way. I'm not trusting my life to some half-German spy.
He's Tim Allen grunting. What's happening?
This is Anna, your new partner.
Count me in, sir.
That was a quick change of heart.
Looking at you, I feel the call of duty.
I'm starting
Seriously?
to feel it too.
You Americans think war is a game.
At first, it seems like the next mission will be one of those fun, hero unit-centric ones. Instead, you meet up with Sanye, who will be in the background of many scenes, and then it's a mission like any other. There are secondary objectives you can accomplish for a higher score, maybe earning you a medal in the campaign menu, but it's not that tempting, and the side objectives aren't that exciting or engaging either. Come to think of it, there weren't any horrible missions, but also not any great ones. The structure could be fine, but with how this game is set up, a lot of the missions end up feeling the same anyways. Even when they mix up environments and objectives, it feels like you're not doing too much differently. The compelling story is a great driving force for a strategy campaign, but Warfronts feels more like attending a dingy circus. You might see something entertaining, or you might see a chimpanzee rip the handler's fingers off.
Lynch, meet Germany's greatest warrior, Roland Hellmann.
Cool bazooka. Hope you haven't been shooting it at Americans.
Just Russians.
Hey, me too.
See, he says that after a mission where he killed Nazis to rescue that man. And then they both realize, hey, someone's been blowing up our stuff and capturing our scientists, and it's not you. And it's framed like a sitcom.
This game.
The Russians. They're raiding both sides.
With this revelation, they decide the time has come to kill the new Chancellor of Germany. They never say Hitler, they only say the old Chancellor when talking about him, and the new—
Wait, the Russians are playing both sides, and yet you guys have decided that you need to kill the new Chancellor of Germany? I don't get it.
guy is the new Chancellor, who has moved up near the front lines in Normandy to consult his generals. He's vulnerable, so the Allies try to paradrop directly on top of his house, and they all get shot down, so you have to build a base and attack from the ground, which leads to a dramatic 5-minute cutscene of the battle to get to the new Chancellor. I'm not sure who he is, he's definitely not Himmler, so I did start to wonder if every character is purely fictional. General Hart seems like a not Erwin Rommel, and they've mentioned no other historical character by name.
But the cinematic is 5 minutes long? Wow.
It'd be an unusual choice, but maybe that's what's happening. When the new Chancellor goes boom, it almost seems like the end of the game.
I think this is where it was supposed to end. Yes, I think this is where the game was supposed to end. Really. Because anything after this, then really what's the point? This type of music, the type of cinematic, the explosion, how everything is just dying and just being turned to ash like this. Yeah, I think this is where it was supposed to end.
Hellman and Hart returned home to kill every last Nazi in Germany. As for me, Allied Command decided to send me to Italy. Hooray, a holiday at last. I thought I'd get 3 weeks of wine, pasta, and hot Italian beauties. Instead, I got 3 months of Nazis. Nazis.
Let me guess, Nazis.
And more Nazis.
The tone bounces like Kangaroo Jack. You don't get the effect from the video, but it was a long death scene. If this was Hitler, then sure. I'm sure some people have some opinions on Hitler. This is all for a man named the new Chancellor who we know nothing about. And then it goes right to an Italian adventure mission where the Soviet Union shows up because they want to be there when the last Nazi fortress in Italy falls. It may seem like I'm skipping a lot, but I'm not abridging that much. It's like the plot is rushing to get to something, you just don't know what it is yet. And then one mission brings it all together.
Citizens, break out your party hats. History will be made in Berlin this morning with the signing of a peace treaty. The British, the Americans, the Germans, and the Soviets will all lay down their weapons.
Is that Anna?
Just like that, the Nazi government is over. It is nice that this transfer of power came with no hard feelings. I never thought I'd see a World War II with participation trophies, but here we are. We all fought good, and for the next mission, you just have to attend a Red Army party.
This is not the way to accept a comrade's invitation.
We're not comrades.
Probably not, but it would have been more interesting to have some vodka before telling it to you.
What's his name? Nazarov. Okay. Nazarov.
Telling me what?
Nadia's message.
This fucking game.
All-out war. Stalin against the world. Looks like the death of the Chancellor served him better than us, killing his only rival in madness. We just made a hell of an opportunity for him.
This is not an exaggeration. Stalin has declared war against the entire planet. Wait, Stalin, the actual dude. Why are we calling the Chancellor still? We won't...
This game is weird. This game is weird in terms of its storyline premise. I'm not really understanding what is going on. But, okay.
Drop a new name, but we will drop Stalin trying to fight the entire planet. We didn't miss the turning point that changed history. This is the turning point. An incredibly vague scenario that causes Germany and the Allies to team up against the Soviet Union. I was going to say that the campaign felt like playing General Patton's wet dream, but that doesn't feel entirely comprehensive. There were a lot of powers inside the Allies and Germany that hoped for something like this. But they almost all revolved around Hitler being dead since the Allies wouldn't negotiate with him anymore. Which is what makes the second Chancellor situation so strange. The death of Hitler, especially by assassination, could have sparked a German civil war. Here it already happened at some point by somebody, and the Germans ended up stronger for it. And if you are going to go for a campy tone, killing Hitler surrounded by sci-fi weapons seems more appropriate. The story ends up feeling undercooked in a way Command & Conquer games don't. It's really something realizing the box spread isn't a big Wolfenstein battle, it's Germans teamed up with America to counterattack Russians. Credit where it's due, you do not see this kind of scenario as the main storyline for many strategy games, and the box did spell it out actually. It's that the whole thing won't stick with the tone. I'm not saying a story has to feel the same the whole way through, but it feels like watching Nazis at the center of the earth where sometimes the writer wants you to think it's plausible. Other games like this have pulled that off, at least for a while. It's just the writing here is so direct and stilted that you don't know what to feel hearing it. Lynch is not suave, and he's also not funny in a dumb Johnny Bravo way. He mainly goes, "I love the babes, baby," followed by, "I hate the bad guys." The best way I can put it is imagine the movie The Mummy. The script is run through Google Translate a few times, and O'Connell is played by William Hurt.
I want the pilot from that missing carry-all delivered to me personally. Someone is going to pay for that waste.
It just doesn't go together. There are funny parts, even if they're unintentional, but above anything else, it feels like having a high fever on the couch while the History Channel plays. You think you're dozing off, and then, is that the Americans and Germans driving the Soviets out of Poland? Is this happening? Am I awake? It's not fun enough if you like pulp and camp, and too much nonsense if you're interested in history. There's not any characters to care about. You only
I think I'll only be here for the units, you know, the different types of units you're able to use on the battlefield. Whether it's the jet troopers, the airships, the tanks, the aircraft. Yeah, I think I'll be here for that mainly, and not necessarily for the storyline basis. Yeah, the character John Lynch, I don't like him. Really, I just don't. The only person I like here so far is Nadia. You know, she's the best character here so far. Everybody else, meh. You know, the storyline is also meh. But the gameplay in terms of how you create your units and how you send them off to battle against other forces, that's amazing. That looks fun. Yeah.
Keep going to see just how weird the scenario is going to get. And in Poland, you learn the Soviets have been kidnapping German and Allied scientists. Also, Nadia is there again.
Hey. What are these? Are these like swimming goggles or what? Seriously. But I like you, lady.
What's so funny, babe?
War.
Yeah, that was weird. That was weird.
What's the matter? Never seen a bright-eyed girl before?
Sure I have. I just never had to kill one.
My eyes!
How about a blind date, baby?
Okay,
Are you serious?
I admit her eyes searing from that flash, and him still hitting on her in the tone you'd ask for a stapler with, is kind of great.
I can't shoot a babe in the back. Not even a ruthless Russian babe.
Unless it's...
Why, though? She's your enemy. She's gonna go kill a lot of more people now that you've allowed her to escape. But anyways, it's you, John Lynch. Okay.
It's with my grenade launcher.
I'll tear his head off tonight.
Don't be silly, Alexei. This war would be so much boring without him.
But Lynch discovered your injury.
That handsome American has no idea where I got it. And it must stay that way.
Oh.
Okay. What's so important? What's so important about that? But okay, alright.
Oh, maybe the Soviet Union has the bomb first. Nadia's eyes were damaged in the flash during the test. That would explain why Stalin feels like he can take on the planet. At least until the next mission reveals all the captured scientists were kept on a zombie drug which made them do whatever the Soviets wanted, and they invented all the cool new Soviet vehicles, and the freeze tank and freeze bomb are how Nadia got injured. But when the scientists were off the zombie shift, they invented the anti-freeze bomb device, which is the Gungan shield generator. None of this matters that much because the Americans still invent the atomic bomb first anyways. Before it's even deployed, it turns out the Soviet Union cannot fight the entire planet at once and are already being pushed back. By this point, the Allies and Germans are now best friends.
A secret American super weapon.
What's it like? If I told you, I'd have to shoot you, Hellman. It's top secret.
Such a sense of duty. You must have German ancestors.
Don't put your money on that.
Okay, who made this game? Digital reality based in Hungary. Okay, this is making more sense. What?
Who is that? Is that Nadia?
Why? Why?
Wells.
That damn woman's a pro.
Oh, Nadia killed Wells.
Oh, congratulations, Nadia.
Okay. It's very last second to give Wells some kind of personal stake in the final mission. They frame it like you're about to fight a super weapon in Ace Combat, but the red square is filled with lots and lots of the Soviet super tanks and artillery pieces. The freeze rays are here too, and it's the only mission that sticks with me. It's still not great, but Moscow is a giant city map. It's the only big city map in Warfront. And with how awkward the pathfinding can be, I think I can guess why. They may have a lot of, super units stacked against you, but a campaign mechanic I didn't mention was core units. Basically, as the campaign goes on, you can choose a few units to bring to the next mission. They keep all their promotions, and by this mission, you're likely starting out with a well-oiled tank column. It is still a big armored brawl, but the map design was made with that in mind and accommodates that a lot better. The bonus objectives are cutting off enemy reinforcements, so you actually do want to go for it. It's still pure destructive chaos, but a map built with that in mind does play a lot better. Once you take down all the super weaponry, the war is over.
So now it's just me and Nadia. It's payback time, baby.
Oh, please. You had your chance in the first time you guys fought. Well, or was it the second time? Yeah, you guys fought and you didn't take the shot. Nadia, put an end to this person if you can.
Cowards!
Hi, baby.
Would you stop?
This chase goes on a while. She tries to mind control him with some kind of Kool-Aid jammer, and it's all very anticlimactic.
You look better in a jail cell than in a coffin, babe.
What? Okay.
Oh wow, okay. You look better in a jail cell than a coffin, babe. John Lidge, guys. John Lidge. Oh gosh. This is so weird.
The evil Stalin is defeated, Lynch gets GF, and there's still the German camp.
Oh my gosh, was that Anna and what's his name again? John? Oh my gosh.
Campaign. Well, Hellman does seem like a more serious character, and he does have a triple Panzerfaust. Plus, the first mission is the taking of London, which means you might fight the Allied roster for more of the game. Or two. 2 missions to fight the Allies. He's then secretly recruited into the German resistance by Hart and sent to the Eastern Front.
The resistance offers everything. A noble cause, a clear enemy, and last but not least, babes.
Are you?
Oh my gosh, seriously?
You kidding? He's an Aryan version of Lynch? No, we're not doing this. A good chunk of the fun in these campaigns is facing off against different factions in different scenarios. You get 2 missions against low-tier Allied units, and then you're back to fighting the Soviet Union again. And because it's all tank ball, and it reuses missions from the German perspective, it sure feels repetitive.
Yeah. I think they didn't really have enough time to flesh out, the different factions. And the fact that you can't even play the Soviet. I would have wanted to play as Nadia. If they had the option for the third faction to also have their own storyline basis, like the Allies, like the Germans, I think it would have been better. Really. But it seems like they've just recycled what they've done for the Allies for the Germans as well. Hey, we could have been playing as Nadia. And the Russians would have won, and not the Allied forces with the Germans. Oh well.
They do try to mix up the reused levels a bit, like the Take Down the Chancellor one. You can now convince Nazis to throw down their arms and join the resistance. And you do this by wounding them. But remember the time to kill?
We are fighting for the same cause now!
They turn to your side for a millisecond, and then fucking explode. Down with the Chancellor! Ah! It's so clear these remix objectives were not fully thought out, but there are still plenty of cutscenes. You get an alternate, long version of the cutscene where the Chancellor dies. Every main beat in the game is now from their perspective, and nothing is reused here, which is really impressive, but the game itself is not the same way. You do get some new insights, like most sci-fi weaponry was invented by a holdout of Nazis somewhere, but you learn precious little about the setting because after London, it's a 3-year time skip. Why is there a military German resistance when, in this timeline, they're winning the war? It's never said if they're committing atrocities or what's happening, only a single line that the new Chancellor is even worse. But how? Even the final mission is completely identical, and it becomes clear that there was no time or budget for a Soviet campaign. The original missions are fun enough, but it does make the alternate scenes for everything a mystery. On the gameplay end, it's clear they barely got 2 campaigns together. On the story end, once you've played one, you don't have much reason to play the other. Hellman also gets a rival introduced, also in a Metal Gear-like cutscene, but he's shooting at nothing here and doesn't actually meet Hellman until the final mission. A mech fight is always welcome, but it's not worth that many hours to see this one. It wobbles around like a drunk puppet until he blows it up.
Ready, aim. Peace at last, Holland.
They play a very similar ending. Now Hellman gets the GF. Game over. And sure, if I wanted to play compelling alternate World War II stories, I could play a bunch of Hearts of Iron mods. But if you do that too long, you might end up wearing Hugo Boss or Violet Vixen by the end of the year, and frankly, those are both a little pricey for me. The campaign's tone is all over the place, and the missions are bog standard, but I would say this game is still alright. Again, if it had gotten follow-up support, it could have really shined in multiplayer and skirmish. As is, I can't recommend it because it's already a pain to set up, and there are tons of strategy games to play over this one. It still has good merits and neat ideas inside of it, but you're mainly coming to this for the setting, which it half delivers on, and the gameplay isn't great enough to make up for that. It's still an interesting, if forgotten, strategy game, and I have plenty of others like it in the Best Buy collection. But next...
I think I would still would want to try it out, in fact, yeah. You know, just for the skirmish mode, you know, battle scenarios, I think I would want to try it out. The story mode, no thank you. In a world where Nadia is not winning, I don't want it. I don't want it.
Next time will not be one of these, and I'll see you then.
Jetpacks ready. Engaging target.
Would I rather deal with a necromorph outbreak or the Beast? You gave me the 2 worst ones, huh? Necromorphs for sure. With the Beast, you don't know how long you might be alive. Speaking of, thoughts about the upcoming Homeworld 3? I am hesitantly hopeful, and I sure hope that's not the UI they launch with.
The game looks amazing. The game looks, it looks fun. And the cinematics are also very engaging. I didn't buy the game. I don't have the money for it, but I have seen the gameplay. I have seen, you know, videos centered around it, and I like it. I like it.
Oh God!
Which Command & Conquer series? Oh man, Tiberian Sun and then Red Alert 2 are my favorites, but if I had to pick a series, it would still be Tiberium, even though I hate 4. Soma when? Not too far off, actually. Will 2024 be a golden age for the RTS genre? I think a lot are gonna come out, but I don't think we'll ever have a scene like we did before. The genre was so popular that everyone wanted to get in on it, and games like Warfront, there are probably hundreds of them out there. I think there's a good chance of getting games as good or better than the classics, but I don't think they'll be anywhere near as popular, especially because they're still competing against Age of Empires 2 and Subcom and everything else that came out before it. I could be wrong, but I think everything has shifted around too much.
She is beautiful, isn't she?
She'll be big hands by nightfall.
Ooh.
Yeah. Okay, guys. Okay, guys. That is it with Warfront Turning Point review made on the MandaloreGaming YouTube channel. Yes, like I've said before, the storyline of the game is just all over the place. I'm not really sure, or I understand 100% what is going on here. In terms of the 3 different factions fighting amongst each other, and then, you know, somehow the Allied forces and the German forces team up to crush Stalin and his Soviet Union. yeah, I wasn't really engaged into that storyline. And the characters that you were able to play as, you know, in terms of the Allied forces or the German forces, I'm also not interested in them. You know, they just seem so two-dimensional in terms of the characters that they are, especially when you think about John Lynch, you know, how he talks. I don't know, I don't find it funny, I don't find it cool, I don't find it's just irritating, really. It's just irritating. You know, if he would talk less and do more, I think I would be more interested in him, just like how I'm interested in Nadia. You know, she's a woman of few words. She laughs a lot, yes, but when she gets into business, she gets into business. You know, if she's gonna fight against you, she's gonna fight. She's gonna throw her darts at you. She's going to try to kill you. If she can't kill you, she's gonna run away. Mainly, she's just doing her job, and that's what I liked about her. She did look like an anime villain character with her flowing hair. Looks like she was swimming, you know, and her hair was just flowing in different ways. Yeah, that was just funny for me. I really did enjoy her character. But mainly, like I said, I wouldn't be playing the storyline. I'd be playing the skirmisher modes that are available with the different factions. I think I would focus on the Germans. The Germans got some amazing technology, you know, the tanks, the jets, the jet troopers, or rocket troopers I should say, the airships, the sound tanks, sound wave tanks. They have a lot of these types of technologies that are just so cool compared to the Allied forces and the Soviets. However, the Soviets have the vodka, vodka trading person. Yeah, you know, that person, the necromancer type of person, that unit looks cool. What it's able to do, you know, keeping its forces alive is also quite cool. So yeah, the vodka dealer really seems like an advantage for the Soviet Union. And yeah, the Allied forces focusing mainly on their air power and infantry units. Yeah, it's okay, but really the Germans have my interest with their you know, technology that they're able to research. So yeah, the gameplay looks fun. Story mode, it's all over the place. I'm not really sure about that. But yeah, guys, that's it. This game from 2007 with its capabilities, like the first-person shooter capability, the third-person driving capability, also for an RTS type of game as well, impeccable. That's amazing. That's unique. I don't think I've heard of anything like that. I've never experienced playing a game like that before. So that's also one of the most interesting advantages this game has. And yeah, it looks fun. It really looks fun. But yeah, guys, that's it. Remember, if you want to check out the original video as well as MandaloreGaming's YouTube channel, the links are going to be in the description below. If you like my reaction, please give me a like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Click on the notification bell if you want to be up to date with my latest videos. And thank you again to Alpha Shocker for requesting that I should react to this video. It's been fun. Guys, that's it. Until next time,